Trikagni kalaya kalagni rudraya nilakantaya mrityunjayaya sarveshwaraya.
When did you suffer the last time and how did you deal with that?
When did I suffer the last time? I don't think I've suffered. I've suffered with other people, but I've never really had any personal sufferings because when I was young, before I was 25 years of age, largely everything worked the way I want. I was successful with what I was doing. Here and there small mishaps, but I didn't care what happened because when you're young, you don't much care. If one thing goes wrong, another thing will happen. So, I don't think I have any… I'm not qualified to say that I have deeply suffered, so I'm like this, no. I have experienced other people's suffering as my own many times, many times. But otherwise, I made myself like this. What happens within me is determined by me. If what happened within you is determined by you, would you choose suffering or joy?
Joy.
I also made the same choice.
It sounds so easy when it comes out of your mouth, that we only need to understand that we only need to understand that we are more than our bodies. Can you give us more ideas?
Understanding is not good enough, you need to experience. If it becomes experientially true, everything will fall into place. Right now we are trying to intellectualize everything. No, intellect is not capable of that. Intellect is… would you like a sharp intellect or a blunt one? Please tell me, I'll bless you.
Sharp?
Sharp. So you understand, intellect is like a knife, it's a cutting instrument. So for cutting it is good, you can dissect everything with your intellect, the sharper it is, the better it is. But suppose you want to stitch something, but you have only a knife and you stitch with your knife, you know what is the result? That's all that's happening to people right now. The more they use their intellect, the more distorted they're becoming. Tell me whether educated people are suffering more or uneducated people are suffering more in the world. Uneducated people suffer if they don't have food, if somebody tortures them, torments them. Educated people are on self-help, they torment themselves all the time because they're trying to do everything with a knife. Let's say a speck of dust got into your eyes and you try to remove with your knife, you know what happens to you.
So, I know that you care a lot about nature, about our environment, and that you are maybe a bit scared about what happens over the next years or decades. Can you give us some ideas what you are seeing out there and what do you think, how we can save, so to say, our nature, our human's future? What is necessary?
One immediate thing that needs to be attended to is the soil degradation. I was at one of the UN agencies, they asked me, Sadhguru, what are the three things that we must act upon immediately? I said the three things are soil, soil and soil. Because the soil degradation is doing biodiversity loss at a pace that we cannot replace. If this continues for another 30 to 40 years, then the losses that will happen to us is incalculable. We have never seen anything like that, those kind of things will happen. Probably first it will happen in tropical lands, most probably. We could be wrong, but most probably it could happen in tropical lands. So people who are living in temperate climates think it is not going to affect them. Anyway, others are going to die, that'll make it easy for them to go and conquer those lands or exploit those resources or whatever. These thoughts are there in people's minds, unfortunately, because they want land minus the people. There are many ambitious people who are thinking on those lines. So, soil is one thing. There are on an average there is about 39 inches of topsoil. This soil in the last 50 years' time had degraded phenomenally simply because it's not under shade, there is no vegetation, everything is plowed and farmed or constructed upon. So if we do not take care of the soil health, the richness of the soil will directly determine the richness of our lives, because this body is just the soil that we walk upon. This body is not different from the soil that we walk upon. All life, from microbial life to insects to worms to birds, plants, animals, trees, human beings, over 85% of the life is sustained by this 39 inches of topsoil. If we take care of this as an emergency measure, other things can be addressed, it'll give us time to address other things. But if soil degradation happens and desertification happens across the world, then all these other things like, see, air pollution, water pollution, these things can be dealt with very quickly with policy changes and a determined effort. Within a few years you can fix it. But soil regeneration will not happen in a few years, it's a long-term process. If we start now, in 25 years we can have a richer planet, soil-wise. And that will lead to richer life on the planet, biodiversity on the planet, because human beings need to understand worms, insects, birds, animals, trees, everybody has a role to play in our life. If tomorrow morning all the microbes disappear, the life will end right now. If all the worms disappear, in about 1.5 to 2 years, life will end. If all the insects disappear, in 4 to 6 years, life will end. But if all of us human beings disappear, planet will flourish. We must understand what is our role here, what is the significance of our presence here.
Yeah. I expected an answer on consciousness from you.
See, human consciousness is very important if you want to fix any of these things. This is not going to happen without this. As a part of this, we've started a movement called Conscious Planet. All of you who are in this leadership process must join this thing. We want you to own this movement, because this is not my individual movement or not my organization's movement. This has to be owned by everybody. The idea is to make at least 60% of the voting population in the world conscious as to what are the 5 things that must happen in their countries, what are the 2-3 things that should never happen in their countries. We are working on this. We are trying to bring in all the world's political parties in the democratic countries to be part of it, to make sure in every nation, on the election manifestos of every political party, at least the number 2 item must always be ecology. If this happens, then policies will change, budgets will come in, government machinery will fall behind it, only then there's a real solution. Otherwise, you and me can talk as much as we want. Without government machinery, budgets and policy changes happening, there's no real change.
For these difficult COVID times, you started an initiative. You already talked about your inner engineering course, and I promise you I will do the last 4 chapters as well. And you have a free offer for…
You must do a practice called Isha Kriya, which is available on the app itself, free for everybody. You and your friends should do this, because this will give you a little space between you and your mind, so that your physiological and psychological dimensions of life will come under your control. It's very, very important to do that.
Yeah.
If you have a good car, you must be a good driver too, otherwise it'll be a mess. Isn't it?
You have a free offer for everybody who is now caring for the people out there, policemen, but also every healthcare professional. So the whole greater community, everybody who's listening now is invited to do your inner engineering course for free, and I'm very thankful for your initiative. And everybody who's not a COVID warrior but interested in it as well, you have a special offer right now, which is 50% off, and I really can recommend it. And I'm very thankful for making that possible, Sadhguru.
Thank you very much. All the best to whatever endeavors you're taking up, because this needs a sustained effort from everybody. You are all the next generation of people. You need to be focused on what we create in this world during our time. This is our time on the planet. What significant things we'll do, what wonderful things we will do, or what horrible things we will do is just in our hands. This is our time on the planet. We must make this the best time ever in the history of humanity.
May I ask you one last question, Sadhguru? You have a lot of…
Tell me.
You have a lot of volunteers which are working for your Isha Foundation. They're helping people. We also educate people to get coaches, greater coaches. What is your best advice you give people who help other people to develop their own potential, to to serve others? Your best advice?
See, the best thing you can do is, it's not by advice, it's not by teaching that somebody will change around you. The best thing is that you must become an inspiring human being. Inspiring human being means you make yourself in such a way that 10 people around you aspire to be like you. They must see you as the ideal. And when you make this kind of a person, you must also estimate and see the kind of persona that you are exhibiting, is it for large-scale well-being? There may be no absolute well-being, there may be always somebody who argues this is all bad, that's always there. But in your consciousness, have you fixed this, that you as a person is a conscious person who structures yourself in such a way that you are for maximum well-being on the planet? And that will naturally be inspiring. If you act in an inspiring way, if you live in an inspiring way, people around you will naturally grow up to that. Thank you very much.